All right. The name is Delman doing the new review for Diamond D's Dime Piece 3. This review is brought on behalf of Old Heads Network. Diamond D has a classic album under his belt, his first album, which came out in 1992 called Stunts, Blunts, and Hip Hop. Is revered among hip hop heads such as myself, people from that era. I still play that album to this day. It's a cult classic more so than I would say a bona fide classic because it tends not to get talked about when you listen to live podcasts and you don't never see it on like the best albums list. But it's a hip hop classic to me and to many other hip hop heads who are in the know. So with that being said, him having 3 albums, 4 that I never heard after hearing the second album. The second album was okay, it was solid. It was kind of disappointing compared to his first album, but it was solid. Then he had like 2 other albums that I never heard of, like Grown Man Talk in 2003, The Diamond Mine 2005, and another album I didn't hear called I'm Not Playing in 2007. Not knowing about these albums at all, just knowing about his first 2, I didn't get back into hearing Diamond D's album until like 2008 when he dropped his Hugh Hefner Chronicles album, which was a pretty solid album. And then he dropped the first Dime Piece in 2014, which was a good album. Pretty good album. And then you had Dime Piece 2, which came out in 2019, which not so much. It was very disappointing to me. It was only a few songs on there I liked. Then he did an album with Talib Kweli called Gotham, which I think I reviewed some years ago, which was a very solid album. Then he had a disappointing solo album called Rear View, which I didn't care for. I was very disappointed with that joint. I only liked like a few songs on there. That was called The Rear View. But the Diamond Piece series, that's more like collaboration albums. That's where he gets a bunch of different MCs and rappers and he does the production, more in the vein, like in the vein of a Static Selector, how he does, what P-Rock did with the Soul Survivor joints. Yeah, that type of, collaboration album. So that's what the Dime Piece joints are. And Rear View was more like a solo joint. Diamond D been doing production since like the early 90s, probably late 80s, to be honest with you. And his production credit outside of DITC, which is Digging in the Crates, his crew. That crew consists of Big L, Lord Finesse, AG, Showbiz, OC, Fat Joe, Buck Wild. I hope I'm not forgetting nobody else. And, of course, Diamond D. Outside of that crew, she's done a lot of production within that crew on their albums, such, OC, solo albums. Did stuff AG, Lord Finesse, Big L, Fat Joe. He did most of Fat Joe's first album, I believe. That was the main reason I bought the cassette back in the day. But outside of that crew, that clique, he's done for Brand Nubians. He produced Punk's Jump Up to Get Beat Down. He did the remix too. I used to like the remix way more than I like the original version of Punk's Jump Up to Get Beat Down. He did House of Pain, Word is Born. He also did a remix for that. He did the remix for Outkast Southern Playalistic joint, which was a surprise back in the day that he did a South joint like that back in the day. And he did a joint for Farside called Groupie Therapy, which I liked. The Alcoholics Next Level. He did the Fugees' actual song called The Score. We know the album was called The Score, but he did the production for the actual song called The Score, and he rapped on that joint, which is one of the best songs on that album. And he did Rash Cash Soul on Ice remix, which Rash Cash ended up putting up a video for his remix. And then he did Mos Def. He did hip hop for Mos Def on his first solo album. He did Pharoah Monch, The Light, which is one of the best songs from Pharoah Monch, especially on his first solo joint. So he has production credits out the ass. He's been producing for a long time and has some notable songs under his belt that he's produced. And for this Dime Piece 3, I would say it's much better than Dime Piece 2, because like I said, Dime Piece 2 was very disappointing to me. But it's not better than Dime Piece 1. With that being said, I'm going to go into some of the standout songs. I'm going to go into detail in each song. But you have standouts like Fire and Water featuring, well, let me just say this. The first 4 or 5 songs are bangers. I thought I was in for something that I was going to be given a extremely high grade to. But after like the 4th or 5th song, it starts to go down a little bit, starts to dip. And the back half of the album is not nearly as good as the front half. So one of the first songs on there, the first song on there is called Fire and Water, featuring RJ Payne and Sky Zoo. That joint goes. Both of them do their thing on there. And you got the Kings featuring KRS-One, which is great. You got Merc featuring Torre and Bishop Lamont. That goes. Then you got Bosses featuring Sauce Money and Lord Tariq. That's a good joint too. Like the first 4 joints like smack. They smack. And then after that kind of dips, like I said. Then you got another joint called Codes featuring David Bars and Royal Flush and Aguilar the Don. That's a decent joint. That's a tight joint. What should I say? Solid joint. Then you got Blue Sunshine featuring 38 Special and EA Ski, which is an odd pairing, but it works. That song is solid too. You know, it was like 3 joints I didn't care for. There was, I would say they was like kind of okay, mid. Then he had the last song, I forgot the title of the joint, but it's featuring, who is it featuring? God damn, somebody you wouldn't expect. Oh, Bone Crusher. And the name of the song, I think, is called My People. And I didn't like that song. And it's featuring Bone Crusher, which I thought was, okay, that's odd. It didn't work for me, though, at all. And Diamond D, he doesn't really rap on a lot of these joints, to my surprise. I think he only raps like on 1 or 2 songs. And he does the hook on a few other songs. And he didn't have a solo song, which was surprising to me too, because usually he'd have a solo joint on these Dime Piece joints. So that was surprising. I would give this Dime Piece 3 a B-. Yeah, I'll give it a B-, just because, like I said, it starts off strong and it kind of like dips in quality. We ain't gonna say quality, but the songs are not as good on the back end as it is on the front end, like I said. And when doing rankings as far as producers, I never think about my rankings as far as producers, and that's odd because I am a producer myself. You know, I'm usually asked or usually given my top 10 rappers or top 10 groups, but I rarely get to like top 10 producers. I pretty much know who like my first 3 will be, but as far as Diamond D goes, I don't know if he will make my top 10, probably my top 20. I will have to think about it, but I doubt if he will make my top 10. And that's no disrespect. I got a lot of respect for Diamond D. I love his production. But check out Diamond D's Dime Piece 3. And if you haven't checked out the first 2, do so. I think the first one is the best one out of the 3. But check out the whole series and, you know, like and subscribe. Like the joint even if you don't like it. There you go. I'm done. I'm finished.
Look, mission impossible to drop a few lines without dropping old times when Southern Hill was still a gold mine. When pistol grips was my shit and I sold mine. When Alias was not a show and they told mine.
Elevate your mind with high quality THC infused products. BlackYeti.com. Black-Yeti.com.
CLB.